In the 19th century, Basque fishermen, many hailing from Spain's rugged Basque country, ventured to the far reaches of the globe in search of new fishing opportunities and abundant marine resources. Their migration to Chile, particularly along the country's southern coast, represented one of the farthest and most enduring maritime journeys undertaken by European fishermen of the time. These Basques, skilled in deep-sea fishing and known for their endurance on the high seas, initially sought fortune and livelihood in the unspoiled waters of South America. However, their arrival was not without conflict, as tensions quickly rose between them and the Chilean locals, who depended on fishing for their own sustenance. The Basques arrived in Chile at a time when its coastal communities were still relatively isolated. Chilean fishing practices had long been established, deeply rooted in indigenous techniques and local traditions. Fishing villages along the coast were mostly inhabited by Mapuche communities and other local groups whose daily lives centered on harvesting the rich marine life, including shellfish, seaweed, and coastal fish. The arrival of the Basques, with their more industrialized techniques, equipment, and ambitious goals, represented a considerable change to this dynamic. As the Basque fishermen settled into Chile's fishing towns, particularly in areas around Valparaiso and Concepcion, they introduced advanced fishing practices that had been honed over centuries in the Atlantic waters. Equipped with larger boats, more durable nets, and an understanding of long-distance fishing techniques, the Basques could harvest significantly more fish than their local counterparts. Their presence, however, was not solely one of industrial transformation. The Basques were also a close-knit community with a rich cultural heritage, and they maintained their language, traditions, and social structure. In time, they became a formidable group in Chilean maritime trade, establishing themselves as a powerful force within the fishing economy. The rapid success of the Basque fishermen, however, did not sit well with the Chilean locals. Basque fishing practices, often more aggressive and intensive, began to strain local fish stocks, impacting the traditional, smaller-scale Chilean fishermen who relied on sustainable, community-oriented fishing. The locals viewed the Basques as an invasive force that disrupted the natural balance they had maintained with the ocean for generations. As tensions grew, accusations flew, with locals charging the Basques with overfishing and greed. The Chilean fishermen also argued that the Basques' superior equipment gave them an unfair advantage. Basque nets, for example, could capture large quantities of fish at once, something the traditional fishing techniques of the locals could not match. With their larger boats and better storage facilities, Basque fishermen were able to process and sell their catches in larger markets, often securing better prices and attracting merchants. Local fishermen, meanwhile, faced dwindling resources, both in terms of fish stocks and economic opportunities. Beyond economic competition, the Basques' distinct cultural identity also led to social frictions. Their language, Euskara, was unintelligible to most Chileans, and their customs and traditional dress set them apart. While some Basques attempted to integrate by learning Spanish and adapting to local customs, many preferred to keep to themselves, forming close-knit communities that adhered to Basque traditions. This insularity, combined with their economic dominance, led to resentment among locals who felt alienated by the newcomers. Conflicts were often exacerbated by rumors and misunderstandings. Basque fishermen, known for their strong maritime superstitions and rituals, were seen by some locals as practicing strange foreign rites. Stories circulated about Basque magical practices or curses that could control the tides and fish stocks, fueling a sense of mystique around them. This othering only deepened the divisions between the groups. Local authorities, recognizing the economic benefits of both groups, made various attempts to mediate the conflicts between Basque and Chilean fishermen. In some areas, the government implemented regulations on fishing quotas to prevent overfishing and ensure fairer distribution of resources. However, enforcing these laws proved challenging due to the lack of an official coast guard and the remoteness of many fishing villages. Basque fishermen, skilled at long-range expeditions, would often venture further south or into deeper waters, bypassing these restrictions and, as a result, widening the economic gap. Over time, some Basque fishermen integrated more closely with Chilean society, often through marriage or joint business ventures. These mixed families, who bridged both cultures, sometimes acted as intermediaries, helping to reduce tensions. In some villages, Basques and Chileans even shared boats and fishing grounds, creating hybrid fishing techniques that combined the best of both traditions. By the end of the century, a unique cultural fusion had developed in certain areas, with Basque Chilean descendants contributing to both communities' economies and traditions. Despite these efforts at integration, the arrival of Basque fishermen left lasting scars on Chilean coastal communities. Many local fishermen were forced to abandon their livelihoods, unable to compete with the increasingly industrialized fishing methods brought by the Basques. These economic shifts contributed to broader social changes, as traditional fishing villages transformed into bustling ports or were abandoned altogether. Today, the legacy of the Basque fishermen remains visible in some Chilean coastal regions, where Basque names, fishing techniques, and cultural traditions persist. This blending of cultures, while initially contentious, eventually enriched the diversity of Chile's maritime communities, creating a shared history that reflects both conflict and cooperation. The story of the Basque fishermen in 19th-century Chile is one of resilience, adaptation, and the challenging process of forging a new life in foreign lands. A story marked by competition, but also by the gradual, albeit difficult, integration of two very different ways of life,